Borderlands is a sci-fi action comedy, co-written and directed by Eli Roth, based on the video game series of the same name. The film stars Cate Blanchett as an outlaw who forms an alliance with a team of misfits to find the missing daughter of the most powerful man in the universe. The film also stars Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Ariana Greenblatt, and Jamie Lee Curtis. This review will be spoiler-free. With recent box office successes like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Sonic the Hedgehog, it is a no-brainer for studios to jump on the trend of video game movies, and I'm all for that. I've always thought that there are countless video games with great stories that could make for great films. With films like Detective Pikachu 2, The Legend of Zelda, Metal Gear Solid, and many more on the horizon, it is clear that Borderlands will not slow down the rise of video game movies, even when it is bombing at the box office and receiving awful reviews from critics and audiences. This is no surprise to me, as I saw the film on opening day and it was rough. I have never played any of the Borderlands games, and my knowledge of the series is limited to literally the title and genre. So in my estimation, that puts me in the perfect position to give an unbiased and apathetic review, as this is just like walking into any original film for me. This film has to win me over like any other on three main merits. Are the characters fun and compelling? Is the world dense and interesting? Is the story deep and investing? Despite my lack of interest in the trailers, I did still have hope that this movie would at least be just some popcorn fun. The concept of a bounty hunter looking for a rich man's daughter was a solid foundation. The film opens with an expository narration, which I was immediately turned off by. It felt like Dragon Ball Evolution or something. This trope is one that you don't see nowadays as much as you did in the 2000s, and for good reason. It is lazy, always overloading you with info that is probably important, but it is always breezed through too quickly and too early on just to get you up to speed, because the screenplay itself doesn't want to do the work. It just leaves it up to the source material and they just dump it on you. It feels clunky, especially when it is immediately followed by jokes about how they don't want the narration to go on for longer, or for you to bother about grasping the info dump too much. They can't even stick to their bad decision without making a joke about it. The narration continues as Cate Blanchett's thoughts are aired to the audience, and she seems like quite a crude and crass character, using PG-rated swear words that just make the film feel like it really wanted to be R-rated, but it's not. This sets the whole mood for how the story will progress throughout the film, through exposition rather than world building and character growth. And it sets the mood for very tame humour that gets grating on your patience. The story progressively becomes more convoluted with what I'm sure are many Easter eggs and story elements from the games that felt like they came out of left field. I'm sure that they are rich in lore when it comes to the games, but they are sort of just ham-fisted or muddied here. The film isn't even bad in a good way. I couldn't even enjoy the silliness because it felt like it was a genuine attempt at an entertaining blockbuster, but without any of the necessary prep to pull it off. The film is such a rip-off of Guardians of the Galaxy, but with none of the wit, depth, charm, and invention. The building blocks are there for an interesting world. I suppose I could attribute that to the games though, but I'll give it to this film as it's the only real win that I can give it. The production design is quite cool. The sets, the costumes, it seems like a really cool world. You never get a sense for how the world really works, but it was at least a cool world to be in. It's not exactly shown to us in a nice way though. The cinematography is pretty terrible. The budget was over $100 million. Sometimes it looks expensive, and sometimes it looks cheap, because it is not only shot in a boring manner, but it has dated-looking CGI and an overuse of green screen that never meshes. Once you get to Act 3, things become truly ridiculous. I was shocked at how fantastical the film was willing to be without earning any of it. Cate Blanchett is an amazing actress, we all know that. But as I understand it, These characters only share names and costumes with their video game counterparts, and hardly resemble them as personalities. Blanchett appears cool, but disinterested. Her character feels generic and lacking in depth. Whenever backstory is attempted, it is simply done through expository dialogue that doesn't even try to veil itself. The moment where I checked out was probably only 30 minutes into the film, when Jamie Lee Curtis is introduced. There is a dialogue scene between her and Blanchett, where we are told about how they know each other from the past and why they hate each other, but my jaw was on the floor. I had seldom heard dialogue this awful in a big budget Hollywood movie, ever. It wasn't even trying to hide how every line of dialogue spoken by either Curtis or Blanchett was just to tell the audience what had happened in the past between them. Stuff that they already know. They wouldn't say this to each other. This would be just in the form of a look in real life. They already know this stuff. They don't need to go over it again in private. Maybe Curtis rocked up earlier than 30 minutes in. I don't know. The pacing was so bad that I couldn't tell you. Even so, 30 minutes is very early into the film to be checking out completely. Of course, Jamie Lee Curtis is another great actress that unfortunately cannot save the film. They expect you to feel a connection between Cate Blanchett and the missing daughter played by Ariana Greenblatt without doing any of the work. The former comes off as mean and the latter comes off as annoying. Greenblatt is an actress I enjoyed in Barbie, so I'm not trying to hate on her. I'm not trying to hate on any of the actors. They try to do what they can do with the material. Kevin Hart's character was so flat, I honestly have no idea why he was even in this film. Hart is a little more serious than he usually is, which was nice for me, I guess. I'm not a fan of his style of comedy. I don't think I could have handled him being crazy for 100 minutes alongside the already insufferable robot Claptrap, voiced by Jack Black, who I do usually find funny. The film tries so hard to make Claptrap work, but he was extremely annoying and I didn't laugh once, nor did anyone in the audience in my cinema. People complained about Jar Jar Binks in 1999, but he has nothing on Claptrap. The characters are all cynical and they have no chemistry. It is sad because a lot of these actors wouldn't usually sign up for a film like this, which leads me to believe that this must be far removed from whatever film they were initially involved in. And that would make sense to assume that because I do know that this film was in development for a very long time. I'm an optimist. I love going into movies and giving them the benefit of the doubt. I try to go into everything without expectation. When the lights go down, I am in the hands of the film, ready to be taken away to another world. I generally focus on the good over the bad, but I unfortunately did not like a single thing about this movie, except for whatever aesthetic and conceptual elements are shoddily carried over from the games that I have never played. This is one of the worst movies I have seen in years, and I do not recommend it unless you're a fan of the video games, because I am sure that you feel you will have to go for that reason alone. The runtime is mercifully short, I'll give it that. This film had potential, but it didn't work on any level.